We're talking about the Best Picture nominees for the Oscars, and we are going to rank them from what we think is the shit to the best.
I liked all of the nominees.
Way better than last year.
Who's going first? You going first or I'm going first?
Fuck it, I'll go first. I saw this movie yesterday, Phantom Thread, number 9. Phantom Thread's one of those movies that I like a good chunk of it. I love Daniel Day-Lewis, and I love Vicky Krieps. I think she was robbed of the supporting actress.
I would have picked her over Leslie Manville. I thought Leslie Manville was good, but...
I thought she was alright, and she had a couple good scenes, but goddamn if Krieps doesn't just carry the entirety of that movie on her shoulders. The problem I've got with the movie is that it's 40 minutes too long. Just because I kind of got the whole symbiotic, fucked up relationship that these two characters have pretty early on, and so much of the movie is them like being nice to each other, and then them Daniel Day-Lewis being a piece of shit, like abusive bipolar prick, and that cycle kept going without a lot of deviation. And Paul Thomas Anderson uses so many long takes that I was in the theater with like two other guys, and when we walked out, we all talked about it. We were like, it was a good movie, way too long.
I don't know if this is going to be in line with you. This is the only one that I'm like, this really, like, I just don't see this deserving to be here, and that's The Post. Leaned over to me, we were talking about it, and you're like, it's so relevant as Trump. But ironically, even though the movie is really trying to talk about, like, the state of journalism and the importance of journalism, the best part of the movie is the actual fucking journalism, the part where they're writing stories, when they're doing investigations, when they're, like, creating stuff. Like, I thought the best, like, character storyline of the whole movie was Bob Odenkirk, because he's actually going and investigating this shit, and he's like, journalism isn't all like super spies and like, you know, hiding and stuff. He's like, yeah, I just have to go and wait at a hotel for a few days. My problem is the first half of the movie kind of lacked urgency. It's just kind of like they're going through the motions, and then when you get to the threat of, oh shit, they might shut down this paper, that's when it really got more engaging to me.
Let's be honest, there's really not that much urgent at stake. At least with Spotlight, there was the implication like, if we don't bust these guys now, kids are gonna get raped. If the Washington Post gets shut down, we're just gonna get another paper to sue the Supreme Court, sue Congress,
there wasn't
Nixon House,
it was
whatever.
More of a Nixon House.
The Nixon White House.
Oh, I love the Nixon scenes in this.
I love
they're
those
so cartoony, but like it felt like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. Our audience was like booing Nixon.
It was great. It was like old people watching a Marvel movie. It's like they almost expected Tom Hanks to come save Meryl Streep from the train tracks while Nixon's
right.
Yeah.
My score was 4 out of 6, but the last like minute raised an entire half star because
the Spielberg cinematic
he set up the Nixon debunking cinematic universe, and it was just, I just loved it. It was so great. I was like, I can't believe they're actually doing this. And then it ended, and then there's gonna be like a post-credit scene that's like they set up all the president's men.
In fact, we are finishing our movie implying that maybe we are the picture that happened right before that all the president's men. There's a little homage we do at the end.
All right, so what's your number 8?
Get Out. The horror elements I thought were really kind of silly. Like seeing fucking Bradley Whitford like carving into a dude's head. I thought that was fucking stupid and hysterical.
Love Bradley Whitford.
But it wasn't like something that I couldn't take seriously. It's like the whole movie's been building to like this slow tension build. Now we're just gonna get everything at once, and I thought
we're gonna get it out.
Yeah. After I thought about the movie some more, and I was watching it at work and getting some like different pieces, and I understand why the guy like ran at the dude at a different angle. I think somebody pointed out that the way that Chris is saved in the movie is by picking cotton. He like picks at the chair, he's picking out the cotton and he plugs it in his ears. Like that's a nice like subversion of the sort of racial history in America. You know,
it's very well done.
There's a bunch of cool symbolism and shit. And then as the year kind of progressed, I'm just sitting there like, it was at the peak and now I'm back to the plateau. I'm just like, this movie's pretty good. It's one of those movies that never really took off in meteoric importance or excitement. It's just kind of there. And it's a movie I definitely respect more than I like.
My number 8 is The Shape of Water. I think with a lot of Guillermo del Toro's movies, like, I respect the craftsmanship and the idea, and I'm gonna make a fairy tale. I like the idea of it more than I like the actual movie because like at the heart of it, it's just a little silly and it's a little simple. The movie's intending to like be like very moving in this moment, and it's like yes, it's like trying to be a fairy tale, but it's like at the same time like it's so goofy that like I just had a hard time taking it seriously because it's like okay, she fucks a fish man.
I think you're confusing seriousness with sincerity.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Like the sincerity just never really like it never really worked for me. I really like Richard Jenkins. I'm glad he got the nomination for this.
Same.
I'd
I'd be surprised if he didn't.
I really like Michael Stuhlbarg in this.
See, now that I'm thinking about it, if we put Michael Stuhlbarg in Spider-Man: Homecoming 2 or 3 as Dr. Octopus, I could totally see it.
Yeah.
I'm actually. Can we start a fandom for that? Michael Stuhlbarg for Doc Ock? The more I think about it, the more about his look, I'm totally down for it.
We already started my thing for Ice Cube to be J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh yeah, so yeah, get on it, Disney. My number 7 is The Post. I talked a lot in the last part about what I didn't like about The Post. This is what I do like about The Post. You get this with a master director where the motherfucker just has a great eye for the frame. You know, there will be little symbolic touches that add to the themes of the movie when you're into the scene. That whole sequence with them actually printing the printing press of the bit, and you get to see kind of behind the scenes of how journalism works. I feel like if this were, you know, any kind of studio director, they would just kind of put it very straightforward.
See, I thought it was like
but Spielberg has a good eye.
One of the scenes where like Tom Hanks is going through the newsroom, compare that to like the car or like the phone bomb scene from Munich. It's like it felt a lot more traditional than he usually shoots things.
Well, yeah, but this movie is not about actions and suspense.
Still, but like
shit. But the tracking shots were nice to carry that newsroom feel. Meryl Streep walking into the room of all men and just that feeling of being surrounded by opposition. I like that. A lot of people talk about the sunken place, the visual, but the scene before that, when he's kind of confessing to what's it called, to Catherine Keener, the story about his mom, and the way the sound design mixes in and slowly brings you into that place while the teacup is like hypnotizing you in the back. Just that scene in itself, that's the scariest part of the movie to me.
It's just astounding to me that this is a debut. Because this feels like somebody who's been a master at their craft for like decades.
This dog wants to really talk about Get Out. You want to talk about Get Out, Gizmo? Would you have voted for Obama? A third term, Gizmo?
That's the other thing I want to talk about is like it was clearly written in the Obama era, but it feels like especially relevant now that with Trump. I'm reading an interview with Jordan Peele when he was talking about like how originally the ending was going to be darker and like, how ironically current events he wanted there to be more levity with the ending. The ending was initially just going to be him going to jail.
Yeah, but I think what it is the...
Stop having an asthma attack.
Look at this puppy.
He's super distracting.
Look at this puppy.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Gizmo is number 1 on our best picture ranking
No, he's
list.
not. He's like 5.
Oh my god, why are you so mean?
Hey, he's over the post. Now to your number 6.
Call Me By Your Name, it's a movie that I like. Again, I like the pieces of. I think it's kind of slow, but there's stuff that I like, I really fucking like. I love the movie, not necessarily being a romance, but being kind of this coming-of-age story about discovering your sexuality and this sort of masculinity. The story about kind of that
Peaches.
fleeting... I thought it was an apricot. I swear to God, isn't there a scene where they're talking about it being apricots? This is a romance movie that doesn't have the self-importance of romance movies. It's very much a summer fling. It feels universal because I think we've all had like a semblance of this feeling of the person that we really care for but we can never have. The feeling that I'll love these days forever and I know they're going to be gone, but god damn it, I'm going to enjoy all of them as much as I can. I also find it funny that this movie's being marketed solely as a gay movie when really the two characters are bi. Michael Stuhlbarg, I had this weird revelation the other day where I was like, you know, I don't mind that he wasn't nominated for supporting actor because even though the scene is the best scene of the year, it's like, that's like 30 seconds in a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, I would.
And so I could arguably put that as the writer, because when you read the speech that Michael Stuhlbarg says, it still has the same poignancy to me. I don't love Chalamet, but I like him. I like Armie Hammer as this ideal of masculinity, not necessarily the character.
He's Armie Hammer.
He's Armie fucking Hammer.
He's Armie Hammer. He's like a picture of your friend's hot dad when he was younger. My number 6 is Phantom Thread.
Wiggle, wiggle your butt.
Oh my god. I love Daniel Day-Lewis and Vicky Krieps. I love their relationship. I love their back and forth throughout the whole movie, and it's these characters that are constantly just outwitting each other. There's never going to be a moment when they're completely happy, but as they sort of alternate between them, they have sort of a semblance of what it could be, and it's just gorgeously shot. I think the New Year's Eve scene is like, that's just like a beautiful piece of filmmaking. You're getting this tension that's built up because of his anger, and then as they're leaving, that's when they have their first like kiss or whatever, and
it's fucked. That whole reason for him kissing her is so fucked
because she's
and abusive.
She's helping him because he doesn't want to view her as a person, and then when he does view her as a person, it's when she's completely dominant over him because she has the power in the relationship.
My number 5 was The Shape of Water, and I totally agree with everything you said in The Shape of Water, but just pure enjoyment.
So my number 5, I'm assuming, is your number 4, and that's. Will you stop interrupting me while I'm interrupting you?
Yes.
Darkest Hours.
Darkest Hours is fucking great.
The two things I wanted it to do, it did, which is it simultaneously humanized Churchill, but at the same time, you realize why this guy's Winston Churchill, why he's a fucking legend, and it's like, you get those moments of intensity mixed with like the train scene could have been a complete disaster.
The train scene could have been so fucking cheesy,
but it really
works because of Oldman's performance,
and
the performances of all the other bit actors there too. If you didn't have bit actors doing their best to be regular people, you would have gotten that scene in Spider-Man 2 where if you want to get through him, you have to go through me and me and me.
Ben Mendelsohn I thought was fantastic. I like him. I loved his scenes because then it's kind of conflict, and then when they have their final compromise at the end, he's like, look, I don't like you, Winston Churchill, but at the same time, you struck fear into the heart of Adolf Hitler and fuck the Nazis. And you were laughing your ass off at the beginning where
it was so great.
It's the former prime minister is basically getting removed from office, and it's great because you're seeing the opposition party leader. He's just like blah, 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 and he's just yelling.
Great.
And they do a slow pan over to the guy, and he's just sitting there like.
You could take the sound out completely. And all it is the monkeys fighting with each other from 2001. I was watching the Directors Roundtable too. This is what I do when I'm at work. And Joe Wright was on there. He was talking about Winston Churchill not as the guy. He was talking about a character. Mm-hmm. And so this character was compelling. He's not so worried about nailing everything correctly down to the T. It is very much the spirit of Churchill in this one particular time.
You recognize his good heart, but at the same time he's combative, and there's a great scene where it's like one scene where it's like you realize the effect it has on his family.
Man, I heard some people talking shit about the cinematography in this movie too. Man, fuck you guys. As far as English chamber dramas go, Joe Wright has an understanding of how to really convey that power and stakes.
It's definitely better. It's definitely better than Pan. I'd like to see another movie of Gary Oldman's Winston Churchill reviewing Pan. What is with all the Nirvana music? So that was my number 5. It's your number 4. So now we're going to my number 4.
I assume 3 Billboards?
Yes, my number 4 is 3 Billboards.
Number 3, 3 Billboards.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But no, we can't talk about it because now it's racist. It's the new Crash. 3 Billboards is an offensive movie.
You know the thing that I hate the most about this backlash? That most of it is centered on Sam Rockwell is completely redeemed.
They make a specific moment where you think that he might get redeemed, but when he finds the guy, and it's not it. He picked the wrong fucking guy. He's still a piece of...
He's not redeemed at all.
Yeah. You're always laughing at Sam Rockwell. You're not laughing with him. It goes to a police station and reads Action Comics, and then he goes home to his mom's house.
Goes into a dude's office, throws him out of a window after he has beaten him nearly to death, tosses the motherfucker out of a window, beats him again, and like stares down this guy who's standing outside the police station with racist intents, goes in, and it turns out it's the superintendent. This guy is clearly an outlier in his own world.
That's like saying, oh, Mudbound's racist because
Jonathan Banks spits out the N-word and fucking hog ties Jason Mitchell. Mitchell. The movie is abrasive because it is making the intentional point that everyone is broken, everyone has possibility for good, but we are inherently fucked.
Right. It's a great movie about the difference between justice and law.
People give Tarantino shit for this too, but frontier justice is a thing, and it's something that has emotional weight. In our heart of hearts, we want, Osama bin Laden to get his fucking head cut off. We want Kim Jong-un to blow himself up with the own missile. Just that's the way humans naturally feel.
But in this movie, you see how that doesn't work. What's throwing fire at the police station gonna do? Like, what's that gonna do?
I hate that everyone was so mad. People wanted Frances McDormand to be the ideal feminist.
Right.
And that in itself is feminism, just letting people make their own choices for good or bad. You don't want someone to be this beacon, because this movie's not about beacons, it's about people.
The quote I use in my review is Roger Ebert always talks about how the movies are a machine that generates empathy, and I really felt that watching this movie because in a way, I empathize with every character in this movie because there's something about each of them that I think we can connect with. And Jesus Christ, dog. My number 3, I'm staring at the poster right now, Dunkirk. It is not the best movie Christopher Nolan's ever made, but I don't think Christopher Nolan has ever been in his element more than he is in with Dunkirk. And I think Christopher Nolan's been unfairly criticized for not showing emotion in his movies. You don't need dialogue to show emotion. There are fantastic emotional moments without a word of dialogue. Like Kenneth Branagh his character waiting on the beach for the French to live in. The moment where the boats arrive on the highway, on the dock, people were.
It's like the fucking SpongeBob SquarePants movie.
Yeah, people were crying when they see the civilian boats come in.
The scene on the bus whenever Fiona Whitehead takes a minute to breathe after reading the paper and look out the window. There's this comment that somebody made where Dunkirk is a movie where you're dealing with the battles of today and you finish them looking towards the battles of tomorrow.
Yeah.
The scary part about this movie is that the characters don't know that World War II isn't over, and so when Fiona Whitehead's looking out the bus, even though there's this moment of peace, it's only a moment.
And then immediately you see the civilians sort of coming around it.
And then they're all like really happy.
For them, survival is victory, which is kind of the theme of the fucking movie. A lot of wonderful performances. I thought Cillian Murphy was absolutely heartbreaking in the movie.
Yes.
Like his character, Mark Rylance is really, really good.
I like
Barry, the kid from
Kilgan?
From Killing a Sacred Deer.
Yeah. That was absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, that whole storyline, and then at the end with the other dude, Mark Rylance's son, going to the newspaper.
Really? Nolan doesn't have emotion? That movie, that part almost made me, like, lose it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, fuck, that's all he wanted, and you did it for,
But I love, like, the simplicity, like, the part where they have the other soldiers on the boat, and he's like, yeah, he's dead, mate. I was like, fuck. I thought that the Harry Styles thing was going to be really distracting. And
I didn't.
And then 5 minutes into the movie, I realized I didn't know what Harry Styles looks like, because I'm not a teenage girl. And so I was watching the movie, I had to turn to my sister, I'm like, who the fuck is Harry Styles?
Not even kidding. Most One Direction fans don't know what Harry Styles looks like.
Is he like the Ringo of the group? Or?
He's technically the Paul of the group, but the problem is they all look alike.
Oh, okay.
What is it? Harry, Liam, Niall, Zane, and
Kyle.
Fuck, who's the other? There's 5 of them.
Kyle.
Lewis, that's him. See? Fucking 3 out of 5 of these guys are impossible to recognize because the other one is blonde and one of them is a Middle Eastern dude.
What's your number 2?
Lady Bird I like because of Saoirse Ronan, Laurie Metcalf. I like the direction of it. The whole package I think is fantastic. I like the reveal whenever the house that she's been fawning over the whole time belongs to Lucas Hedges' grandma. That was so...
Yeah.
It's convenient, but it's very much a plant and payoff that works thematically. And
there's really sad moments, like the fact that she and her mom just look at houses on the weekend.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and it's...
But
all the stuff with
weirdly
Stephen
enough,
Henderson.
weirdly enough, I like that too.
It's charming in a way that, like, if you don't think about it too much, you're like, oh, this is really nice. Remind me in a way of Edge of 17, because it's thematically, it's sort of the same. It's like,
I mean,
teenage girl who discovers, irony and pessimism and mistakes it for wisdom, and then over the course of the movie, she learns to become more sincere. I just enjoyed it more than Edge of 17.
yeah, it's a movie about balancing where you come from with where you want to be.
Yeah. My number 2 is Call Me By Your Name. It's just a great portrayal of love and understanding and just emotion. This movie is really about emotion, and one of the things that Michael Stuhlbarg mentions in his ending monologue is how he wants his son to feel emotion. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad, but the ability to experience is...
It's like, I read this yesterday. It's like, when you feel pain, don't snuff it out. The way he says it too, he's like, God, what a waste. It's almost shameful that people so want to repress that sort of intimacy. It's, yeah.
Well, and it's...
Best scene of the year.
Absolutely. I think it's one of the greatest like movie monologues I've ever seen. I think Timothée Chalamet is so fucking good in this movie. He was just so emotional, and like that last scene with him at the fire, he just like felt so natural. And he's an awkward teenager, and he's exploring himself, and he doesn't really know who he wants to be or what he wants to do. And Armie Hammer's great. He's like super charming, and you get to the... he's basically playing almost our perception of Armie Hammer.
It very much feels like a supporting role because it supports Chalamet, and you get to see Armie Hammer challenge this character and put this character in different moods or mindsets that we wouldn't have seen otherwise. And so it's a nice
I think like the last parts
battle.
of this movie where they're spending time together and they go they go hiking and they go into the thing like that. All of that stuff was just beautiful. And the song "Mystery of Love,"
I love that song. I loved that song before I heard the movie.
Also, I'm a huge fan of the psychedelic furs. So
that is the stupidest. That is simultaneously the stupidest and most fun scene because Armie Hammer dances like a fucking idiot.
Oh, it's so great.
He's just got this like. Number 1 is the Florida Project. No, it's Dunkirk. Because Dunkirk is a movie that is pure tension. The entire movie is structured around every second being your last. Fuck you, Steven! This movie's a fucking godsend! You're a fucking plebe that likes Michael Bay! Suck my ass!
I was worried that the PG-13 was gonna affect it, but it's not about that. It's about the tension. And like it was actually...
It's about the scale.
Right, and it's about the moment. It was interesting. I watched an interview with Kenneth Branagh who was talking about, because at the premiere they invited all of the surviving Dunkirk veterans to go to it.
Oh, I heard about this.
And he was saying, and they were basically said that it was completely accurate. The only thing was that Hans Zimmer's score was louder than anything they saw on the beach.
That's terrifying.
Christopher Nolan just broke all the rules of war movies. There's no scene where they all sit around a campfire and talk about their wives or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just you're in it from beginning to end, and it's like an hour 45 minutes. It's like perfect pacing. It's like an epic, but it's like just like so.
It's a movie that shows humans as ants.
Pretty much.
And I just think that's amazing. You're this tiny thing surrounded by hellfire on a beach that is very small.
Right.
But in that moment, that whole survival, life or death feeling is greater than anything you could ever imagine. So yeah, Dunkirk, enough said. Watch it on the biggest screen possible and just involve yourself in it.
Yeah. All right. So my number 1 is Lady Birds. I think that most coming of age stories have to work in sort of 2 ways. You have to. There's stuff that everybody's gonna relate to, like relationships with your parents, falling in love, trying drugs. There's all that stuff, and then there's just the stuff that's like specific. And I've felt, so much of Greta Gerwig's identity as a filmmaker. Another one. It's like it's amazing that this is a debut. After this movie, I want to marry Saoirse Ronan because she's just like this adorable, awesome person, but at the same time, when she's acting like a bitch at points, and it's like. It's just so well-rounded. It's like just watching it. Like I knew people like that in high school. It's just a collection of all these fantastic moments, and it's all strung together so well. The Lucas Hedges storyline is perfect, and then the ultimate resolution of the movie I thought was perfect too. When she kind of comes to grips with the relationship with their mom, and they have, you know, conflict, but there's also compromise.
They show Laurie Metcalf driving through San Francisco, and then
Saoirse Ronan driving.
Lady Bird driving through San Francisco. I thought that scene was poignant and beautiful and reflective. It bookended the film, and the scene where she's in college and she's asked what her name is, and then she says Christine.
Yeah,
I thought that was
perfect.
That's
That's the video. That's the ranking.
Yep.
See all these movies.
Yeah, watch all the movies. I don't think there's a bad one of these in the bunch.
No, it goes from absolute love to really solid. So,
and I think this is a pretty diverse list. You have your dramas, you've got your weird horror movies, you've got your action thrillers, you've got your psychological fuck up think pieces, and historical
you got
dramas,
comedy, and you got fairy tale. There's a lot.
You got a good mix. Give it a shot. Make your own ranking list. Put it in the comment section below. Like, subscribe. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We got all of those.